All right, we're back. Tasty Crypto Show. I'm Ryan Grace. With me today, the one, the only Katie McGarrigle, which means it could be only one thing. Where do I start?
I was going to say, are you going to go say it could only be Monday or Wednesday? But
Or it could only be Monday or Wednesday.
Answer.
How are you? How was your weekend?
Good. Pretty low key. It's that thing where, you know, it's late October and you're like, I have so much time before the holidays. And then Thanksgiving comes and then you're like, okay, I've got a little bit less time before like the next holiday. And then it's December 15th and you're like, oh crap, I haven't done or bought anything for anybody and I need to figure out my calendar because it's quickly filling up. Just a lot.
The anxiety, the stress sets in.
I think I've said this before, maybe with Mike and Nick, but I don't, this is going to sound so bratty. I don't like it like when I have too much going on in my calendar, like because I'm very protective of my free time, especially as I've gotten a little older. And even though it's great to see people and see friends and family and all that, it adds up very, very quickly for me. And I need to kind of recharge.
The power of no.
The power of no is not something that I'm very good at. So maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution. Well,
Katie, we appreciate you being here with us today and joining us over the last few weeks on the Tasty Crypto Show. Where Do I Start is on, I believe it's 8th episode.
Yes.
So we're going to wrap things up in terms of this mini series where we set out to not necessarily give everybody the 301 on blockchain technology, how all of this works, but more so the 101, high-level concepts, why we're interested in the space, why we invest in it, how we use it. We're going to cover DeFi today, and this will get us towards the end of the mini-series where we set off with the basics of Bitcoin all the way to how you participate on-chain in a decentralized financial system.
I'm excited for this because as we are in the predominantly regulated world or centralized world, if you will, you've clearly, over the last 7 episodes, made a very compelling argument as to why I should consider this in my portfolio. And now I'm very curious about where that ends and this kind of starts, particularly as we know there's a crypto offering on Tasty Trade, our sister brokerage firm, and all that, and where that, like I said, just kind of ends and this begins.
Yeah, well, let's jump into it. But before we do, we've got to shout out the chat on YouTube, Lone Sofo, Scramble Everything, what's going on, gangs all here. Thank you very much for the kind words around the newsletter.
Yeah, you guys do a great job.
Thanks.
As a very small team, I might add.
Yeah, there's only a couple of us. But yeah, I love writing that newsletter, and hopefully it can shine a light on some of the crypto market themes, some of the things that we find interesting where there's potentially opportunities. We hit on AI agents this weekend, which is very quickly becoming a more prominent theme in the market. So keep your eyes open for crypto AI agents. We'll talk about that more on the show. Nice. But Donna Ski, what's up? Shout out to everybody in the chat. If you're not streaming it on YouTube, get over there and type something crazy in the chat. It's the only way to talk to us on here. But Katie, you ready to do this? DeFi, where do I start?
Yes, I am. Let's jump in.
When we first kicked off Where Do I Start, DeFi wasn't even a concept.
It wasn't even
had yet to be conceived.
Glimmer in any of our tasty eyes.
Yet here we are, episode 8, DeFi. Let's just kick it off and stop me at any time here. But what's DeFi? First of all, it's short for decentralized finance, which is really on-chain finance is how I think about this.
Okay.
You hear decentralized thrown around quite a bit. Not everything is completely decentralized, nor does it have to be. The way that I think about this, financial services on blockchain networks. Mm-hmm. So it's a financial system that uses blockchain or crypto to enable people to transact. And this is not just trading or transferring. Right, we talked about how you can use Bitcoin to send value across the network. I can pay you, you can pay me. This is a bit more than that. It's trading, it's exchange services, it's banking. You can borrow, you can lend. There's a lot of different things that you can participate in that look more like traditional financial services, except that there's no intermediary.
Right.
That's what makes this decentralized. It's on a person-to-person basis.
Yeah. There's no Chase
in the middle
of us.
No. You need those institutions, obviously, to get fiat currency on chain.
Right.
But once you're on chain, you don't actually need a brokerage firm to conduct a trade. Whereas in the world that we live in, that we're used to, you have those third parties. You need all of these different counterparties to facilitate the process. Here, it's a little bit more streamlined. It's not always going to be one-to-one, person-to-person, but in terms of how you can participate, it is transacting among each other without a third party that facilitates it. Instead, DeFi uses smart contracts. We hit on this when we first talked about Ethereum. One of the innovations of the Ethereum network, smart contracts. What are smart contracts? Software programs, code. And what this code does is that it introduces the logic of traditional financial services, but instead of, again, interacting with an intermediary, you as the user interact with the smart contract. The smart contract facilitates that financial service. So there's no bank involved, there's no broker involved.
All right.
And that, high level, is DeFi. What I want to do today, though, is talk through how you access it and maybe more importantly, show you how to do this with the tastycrypto wallet. You can use any wallet platform, but today, for the most part, you need a self-custody wallet.
Okay. And like you're saying, there's a lot out there. I'm sure there's like nuances and differences between them. But outside of the fact that this wallet is associated with the ecosystem of Tasty brands, is there anything that sticks out to you, especially as you have been fostering and molding and raising this Bane in the underworld for a little while?
That's a good way to put it.
What makes this app special to you or unique as compared to maybe some of the other wallets that are out there?
Yeah, what we're trying to do with this is create more of an experience that's tailored to traditional investors. There are a lot of wallet applications that do a fantastic job. And with wallets, you can have your address or your seed phrase imported into many different client platforms or applications. So just like with email, you can use Gmail, you can use the Mail app on your phone or any other mail client that you like, and you can have them all open at the same time if you want.
Sure.
You can do the same thing with self-custody wallet applications. So on your phone, you could have tastycrypto, you could have others like MetaMask, Phantom, Coinbase, Robinhood, you name it. I mean, there's a ton more out there. They all do the same thing. It's more around the experience and then the feature set as a result. So when you look at the tastycrypto experience, we're trying to create, again, something that feels a little bit more familiar to first-time users, but those that are coming from the traditional space,
Sure.
where there's this concept of doing a little bit of research around a stock, doing a little bit of research around a token. If you've used the Tasty Trade trading platforms, there's going to be a lot of things in here that feel familiar in terms of how you have your market awareness piece, you have your activity. We're now making it easier to connect to DeFi. You can trade in-app, but it's really around that experience. And the other thing that we've tried to do is evolve this into an all-encompassing platform. So there's some really exciting things that are coming. But for example, you can log directly into Tasty Trade and transfer crypto. Hopefully you'll be able to buy it. There are on-ramps from PayPal to transact in the application. There's a swapping mechanism that exists in-app, and it's all on multiple blockchain networks. So not only is it for Bitcoin or Ethereum, but we're on Solana, we're on some of the Ethereum layer 2s, and we're adding a lot more. So hopefully it evolves over time. But again, I think the experience is, to some extent, what sets it apart, our design and how we're pretty passionate about those trading apps that we build.
Okay. And remind me, what is an Ethereum layer 2?
So an Ethereum layer 2 is a scaling solution. When you think about Ethereum as a settlement layer, we talked previously about how it can be expensive at times in order to transact on the network, pay a gas fee.
Yeah.
Depending on how much activity is happening on the network, those gas fees can be pretty expensive. There have been points in time going back a couple of years where gas fees were $200, $300 to perform some basic transactions, to do some things in DeFi. So it becomes pretty cost prohibitive. It's not scalable, and it's certainly not usable for most people given how expensive it is. Layer 2s solve some of that scalability in that, think of it as almost another chain
Sure.
where all these transactions are occurring, and then they're settling on Ethereum and inheriting the security, the verification
Okay.
of the Ethereum network as a settlement layer. And that batched process over here where let's say it's thousands of transactions, just an arbitrary example, but lots and lots of transactions, all as one transaction then settling on the layer one.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So it becomes much cheaper to transact. Might be faster, settlement times might be quicker, certainly lower gas fees to participate on these layer twos. You're now starting to see more and more activity on them, and that's taking away from the activity that happens on the layer one at times. But that's hopefully high-level example of the layer twos.
Okay, no, that definitely helps. Like, it's almost, it's not legacy tech versus something that's newer and lighter, but in a capacity, it's not a terrible metaphor. But
it's almost like when you look at the financial industry and you have trading that occurs through different venues, and then ultimately there's a settlement process.
yeah,
Early on, all of the trading and settlement occurred all at one time in a way and all in one place. These scaling solutions now allow for that to all occur in different places and then settle in the same place, but it makes it much more cost efficient,
Sure.
at least from a fee perspective.
okay, great. All right.
So,
Okay, so we've
yes.
got the basics of DeFi. We're going to look at the Tasty Crypto app. What now?
Yeah, so the first thing that I want to point out is that for anyone to access DeFi, because it's permissionless and it's person to person, you don't have an intermediary that you use or you go through. You're doing this yourself. So you need a self-custody wallet. As we talked about, Tasty Crypto is one self-custody wallet that's out there. There's many others, but you need this application so that you can sign transactions. And these apps are going to do a lot of different things. They'll show you your token balances, for example. But they really open the door and provide access to DeFi and allow you as the end user to be in control of your crypto.
Sure.
You hold your keys, you have complete control over the crypto. Whereas if we go back to the FTX debacle, all of that crypto was under the control of a centralized exchange. Yes, you as a user, you have an account, you have your money in that account, and you can do things with that money. But unless you withdraw that crypto from the exchange actually is in control of it. If the exchange wanted to, in this case, steal the crypto, they can do that.
Yeah.
And so that is a big risk. I think less so today than it was years ago, but this puts you in complete control of your crypto, and as a result allows you to participate in DeFi.
Okay.
And it won't be that there aren't third parties, and I think there certainly will be once we have some regulatory clarity. It won't be that you will never be able to do this through a third party or through someone like Tasty Trade. It's just today, in order to access it, you really need to do it on your own.
Got it. And I mean, obviously, I know that there is an app, meaning a mobile application, but do you see this gaining any, ground, I guess, in terms of like a desktop application or like something you can also access on your laptop? Or like, I immediately go to the phone because I feel like that's where crypto like enthusiasts kind of live. But like, to your point, a lot of centralized finance people are probably a lot more comfortable with a heftier device, a desktop, a laptop.
Absolutely.
So how does that work?
Well, to that point, we do have a browser extension, and a lot of different self-custody wallet applications are also in a browser extension form. So it's a mobile app. It's an extension that'll allow you to use it on the web. If we throw up the web browser really quickly, I do have it installed here, and this is a Chrome browser extension. So you can install this directly from the Chrome Web Store. But if we pull up our browser, we're looking at the Uniswap interface. I want to talk to you about Uniswap because it's a great starting point for DeFi, and I think really illustrates the concept of decentralized finance. But you can see in the upper right corner, we have Tasty Crypto installed. And so if I just enter in the password here,
Okay.
this will open up the app as well. Well, I'm going to enter in the correct password, so one moment, apologies. Once that loads up, this will give you limited controls. It's definitely not as good as the mobile app,
Sure.
but this will allow you to connect to these applications, and it'll allow you to view those balances, send and receive, swap tokens in app. We do have something for the desktop.
Cool. Great. Okay. I don't want to derail you anymore, so let's keep.
Oh no, you're all good. I mean, this is part of the process. So getting into DeFi, you need the self-custody wallet. If we can jump back to the slides for just a second, I want to point out the wallet setup process. So once you install the application, you can very quickly get into it, but until you back up your recovery phrase, and this is like the safe like the code to the safe. Until you back that up, we're not going to let you do anything with the wallet that's going to put your funds at risk, where you could lose them because you no longer backed up your phrase, or you no longer had access to it. Excuse me. So that's the first step, is you're going to get a 12-word seed phrase. You got to keep this safe. Anybody that has this code, has this seed phrase, they have access to your crypto. They could import it into a wallet, move it wherever they want.
Sure.
So you've got to be careful of that. But I just wanted to show this because this is the first part of the process where you go through, or you back up the recovery phrase. We're not going to do that today. Instead, we're going to jump right into it. And I want to show you how you can access DeFi, show you what this is exactly, and then any questions you have or anyone else has, I want to open it up to those.
Awesome.
So this is the seed phrase, recovery phrase backup process. If we now can jump to the mobile app, actually, we've got a great setup here where this is the mobile application. We're displaying it on air, obviously.
Yeah,
we're going to start to use this a lot more. We'll do this on Options Trading Concepts Live. We'll be able to trade on here. But this is the app that you can then use to quickly access DeFi. So you'll notice at the bottom, we've got a little DeFi dashboard now. And this will give you a list of a lot of different services or protocols. I don't know exactly what the correct term is you want to use here, but these are applications that are running on blockchain networks. When you look at Uniswap, for example, that's on Ethereum, but it's also on a lot of the layer 2s. So when it first came out, it was only on layer 1. It's now been deployed to these layer 2s. So if you want to trade on one of these other layer 2s, you can use that network and you can use Uniswap on it. Others, such as Jupiter, that's a decentralized exchange. It's like Uniswap, but it's on Solana.
Okay.
So these are different apps across different networks. Aerodrome, that's on Base. So there's a lot of applications for trading, for borrowing, lending, staking, you name it, on these different networks that are all available here. And if you don't see it in the list, you can type in the URL and go to it.
Okay. Are these prioritized in any type of way in terms of popularity or users or, amount of tokens and or currency being exchanged or?
Yeah, the way that we've approached this, at least for now, is just to put some of the larger decentralized exchanges on here.
Sure.
So if you go here and you go to Uniswap, I mean, it's the biggest one on ETH. But beyond that, there's no real logic to it. It's just more of a list of kind of the more popular ones based on usage.
Great.
But if I click on Uniswap, that will take me to the Uniswap application. And you can see I'm already connected, but you just have to connect the wallet once it pulls up here. And now what this is going to allow me to do is trade without an intermediary. I'm in complete control of my funds. Only I can sign transactions in order to move those or to do anything with them. When I connect the wallet, it gives this app the ability to see the balance and propose transactions to be signed. And so if I look at this and I can see how much ETH is here, I can also then go and look at what other token balances.
Okay.
Exactly.
Will it show you your tokens that are not swappable and or tradable on like Uniswap, or?
No, it'll only show me here any tokens that are available to trade on Ethereum or Ethereum layer 2s.
Got it. Okay.
So right now in this portfolio, I hold some tokens on both Ethereum and also the Base network, which is Coinbase's layer 2 network that they rolled out earlier this year.
Okay.
So I have USDC in here. Now let's say that I want to trade USDC for another token on the Base network that maybe isn't available through a centralized exchange. If I go in here and select the token, I can search for one of these tokens if I know what I'm looking for, or you'll see some of the others that I already own, or there's others that are just going to be in the list because they have some liquidity behind them. There's trading activity, et cetera.
Got it.
But virtual protocol, AI agent protocol that I talked about for a second earlier today on the show. If I want to trade this and I want to spend, in this case, USDC, so swap my USDC to buy more of the virtual token, I can very easily do that by typing in the amount. And then when I go down here, it's going to request a quote. I can review the trade. Just like when you're trading through a centralized exchange, I'll sign that transaction. It'll conduct the swap. And now, without using a brokerage firm or a centralized exchange like a Coinbase or anyone else, I'm able to buy $25 worth of this token with the USDC that I have.
Got it. And it's only going to, in this instance, on this platform, it is 9 cents.
That's right. Yeah, the fee here
and the network
is
cost.
there is the network cost. So the network cost on base is pretty cheap. It's going to be 3 cents, and you can see the fee. It's going to be 25 basis points on the notional. It's going to come out to about 6 cents. That's it. You can also do this directly in the Tasty Crypto wallet as well.
Okay.
So I'll show you that. And again, I just wanted to focus on trading because this is the simplest form of DeFi.
Yeah.
Just trading on chain without a brokerage. So if we go back here, you can do this for the chains that we support. You can't trade on Bitcoin, but for the chains that we support in here, Base being one of them, all you have to do is click on, if I go back to USDC, click on it. It'll take you to what we call token details. So you can see some of the information about the token that you're viewing.
Oh, that's nice.
Kind of like I want to do a little bit of research, I suppose, around a company before I buy the stock.
Right.
Some details.
I like the price range slider too. It just helps give
Yeah.
more context.
With USDC, you'll see that the price is, well, it's a dollar stable coin, so it's pegged. So it's not going to change or shouldn't change by too much. But if you have another token that is a little bit more volatile, let's say Ethereum, you'll see all the details there. But let's say that I want to do the same thing in the app, and I don't even have to go to Uniswap. Uniswap's a good example of a really popular DeFi app, but you can do the same thing, and we'll most likely hit Uniswap in terms of where that liquidity is aggregated from. But if I click on swap here, it'll give me a little tutorial I can go through. Tells me,
Love a tooltip.
yeah, you got some tool tips in there for the first time user. But here's that USDC, about $250 worth. I can come in here. I can select that same token that I wanted to buy. I can enter in the $25, and it should pull a quote in there for me. Same thing, review the swap. It'll load up, give me that same information. I don't know why the fee is a bit different here. And sometimes with the gas fees, you have things that are estimated.
Sure.
But it's easy to do this right in the app. And again, the thing that I want to harp on is that this does not use any intermediaries.
Right.
This just relies on liquidity that's available on these decentralized exchanges. And there are more than one decentralized exchange, but as long as there's liquidity on a decentralized exchange, you should be able to conduct a swap, and you can do this all on your own, again, with no intermediary.
So, okay, that all makes sense. I mean, especially too, like when we're talking like these smaller investments, and I know you all have been using the app for the bag battles and all of that good stuff. But like, what if a smart contract or like a code or a program like fails? Because you're wanting to buy?
Well,
Like how?
there are instances where I suppose smart contracts can become vulnerable and they could become hacked or they could be manipulated in some
Maybe
ways.
that's a better way of saying it.
But for a lot of things, when you talk about something failing, I think about the transaction reverting. So it just wasn't conducted. It
Filled.
exactly. So in that case, nothing happened, right? You might be out the gas fee that you paid in order to start that process.
Sure.
But if it didn't occur, it didn't occur.
Yeah.
With smart contracts, these are very transparent. So you can look at the code, and if you have an understanding of what you're looking at, then you have an idea of what the smart contract is supposed to do. It's fully transparent. And when we think about these smart contracts, because they're rules-based, it's almost impossible for that to fail. Either the conditions are met or they aren't met. But a lot of people use the kind of digital vending machine as an example of how a smart contract might work. If I have the amount of capital required to participate in a transaction, I put that in, the transaction occurs, I get something in return. Those conditions are met, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for that to fail, but it doesn't mean that there aren't vulnerabilities that can exist with smart contracts or that just generally exist with code.
Yeah.
But the fact that when you're interacting with a lot of these protocols, let's say Uniswap, for example, this is something that's been around for a long time, has been audited, is very popular in terms of users, and as a result, it's robust in that sense.
Right. And like you kind of alluded to previously, like there's almost like for some people that are participating, there's almost like an innate responsibility to take care of the place in which they're transacting.
I think so. I mean, there are a lot of bad actors out there, but the developers and the teams, the companies behind a lot of these protocols, it's 100% in their best interest to
Right.
make sure that their product is working.
Right. Okay. This is great. What else should I like know or think about or consider? I mean, it feels really simple, but
This is a lot easier to use. It's a lot better than it's ever been.
yeah.
If you were participating in this space years ago, you certainly would know what I'm talking about. And as you use this, I would argue, you know, it's still kind of clunky at times. The UX can definitely improve. It's getting better and better almost every week, every month when there's new releases. But it is pretty easy to use. It's become pretty easy to use.
I have a question for you that I
Yeah.
just thought of. Okay, so we're talking about this in terms of like trading, banking, staking. Are there other developments in DeFi right now that maybe are like newer that are like really exciting to you or like have untapped potential that we haven't really?
So one of the things that I like to do in terms of trading or how I participate, I think you're aware of this, is through liquidity pools, providing liquidity to these exchanges and receiving some of that fee that's charged for facilitating the whole trading experience. You can only swap tokens if there's liquidity available to draw from.
Right.
But those people that provide liquidity can be anyone. So compared to this space where you have big, well-known market makers, high-frequency trading firms that have an edge and clearly have, you know, the edge from the technology and capital perspective, as an individual, you can provide liquidity to a decentralized exchange and reap the benefits of those rewards in the form of fees that are charged for each trade. So what that really opens up is the possibility to basically run your own brokerage firm on the blockchain 24/7. You have to manage it. And I'm going to show you some things in the next episode. That's kind of where I want to go next with, okay, what are those other things? Great. Trading on chain through this mechanism. Well, how does that actually work? And then how do you participate as the market maker? That's what's really fascinating to me. So all of that said, to answer your question, what developments are occurring? What am I interested in? That whole process of providing liquidity is pretty clunky as well. Many steps, there's some technical complexity. It's just not very easy to use. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still not great. What you're going to see this time around, I think, in this cycle is a bit of a DeFi renaissance. And I think that you're going to see a lot of people building around the user experience related to DeFi, related to liquidity management. So when I show you this next Wednesday or on Wednesday, you'll see there's like 5, 6, 7 steps. You'll see those steps removed over time.
Okay.
One click, liquidity management. I think you'll see the automation of certain strategies. And what that looks like to me is almost a simplification of kind of the options trading process. So you think about it today, well, I have to pick my strategy, I have to set my strategy up, I have to determine what my expiration date's going to be, my strike selection, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
There are probably ways that you could automate some of that depending on kind of your approach to the strategy. And I'm not saying that there aren't tools that do that today, but that's a lot of what's happening here with DeFi is all those steps are being removed so that it's just a lot easier for the everyday person to do and to participate in compared to how it works today. You know, it's the same as if you could use a vehicle that allows you to just automatically invest in a fund. The fund goes out, it sells call options against the S&P 500.
Right.
Generates
this
some
date,
yield.
yeah, with this day's expiration at this price or whatever.
For some people, that's a lot easier than having to do it themselves. A lot of people like to do it themselves, but there are ETFs, there's fund strategies now that kind of give you those same benefits. It's not a fund, but I think what you're going to see is that DeFi becomes a lot easier to use for people versus all the multi-step kind of approach that they have to take today.
All right. This was good. I feel like I'm starting to connect all the dots together. It's, the jargon is still definitely a hurdle that I don't like. Sometimes when I'm saying stuff to you, I'm like, am I saying this right? But I know that comes with time and practice and
Yes.
just like learning any
like
language.
options.
Yeah.
Think about that as a language.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday already.
Cool. Well, next episode, we will kind of get deeper into the weeds in DeFi here, talk about liquidity pools, maybe set one up even so you can see what powers the decentralized exchange. But this is our first foray into DeFi and the discussion on the show. If anyone has any questions, hit us up on Twitter at tastycrypto or send me an email, ryan@tastycrypto.com. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. But that's going to do it for our show. Katie, as always, thanks for coming on the show and really helping us out with Where Do I Start? I think it's been a great mini-series thus far.
I agree.
Cool. Well, we will be back again on Wednesday chatting DeFi. Until then, I'm Ryan.
I'm Katie.
Peace.